This is the Manufacturing Automation Podcast. I'm Michael.
And I'm Matt. In this podcast, we're going to discuss growing companies, automation and manufacturing,
and how we're building the lives and businesses we want to see in the world.
All right, we're back on the map. So I haven't actually said that. That actually rings
I like
pretty good. Yeah, back on the map. All right, so we've kind of come to a little bit of a structure. As everybody knows that's been listening for a while, we won't follow 1 through 6, but for those that are coming in, 1 through 6 for our topics are general feelings of the week. How are Matt and Michael feeling? Moods, emotions, what's the roller coaster like? Number 2, sales and marketing, things we're changing, stuff that's coming to the pipeline, ways that we want to get in front of more people so they can learn about our services and products. Number 3 is engineering and R&D. We've got some passion for making new products, getting them to market and manufacturing them appropriately. So we're going to talk about how we're doing that. Number 4 is company-wide updates and improvements. As a small growing business, there's a lot of pains in that process. So how can we get better? Number 5 is what have we been Googling? So there's typically a theme of the week, something that we're focusing on. So there's lots of Googling happening around that. And number 6, so you can learn a little bit more about us, something personal.
Cool.
I will
You
let
wanna
you hit it. Yeah. All right. So general feelings of the week for me, I have this itch to close a large automation project. Like that is where I'm at. Like I have been pounding the phones. I have been emailing like crazy, following up on leads that we have. I actually had it pulled up here earlier today. There's basically 220 people that I'm on a regular basis, monthly emailing, engaging with because there's some type of automation project they're wanting to do. And those are the ones that are getting personalized contacts with me because they're engaging back.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's like the thousands of others that are like just kind of cold in our pipeline. But it's been a lot of emails and calls since the beginning of the year. We've bid more projects than I've ever seen. And it's like, I've got this serious itch. So that's how I'm feeling.
What do you think's getting in the way?
You're
you
saying
just gotta
getting in
keep
the way of
pounding it?
sales. I think it's just following up. It's nothing that I haven't seen before. It's just, we used to aim to close a couple of these projects a year. Now we're trying to close 1 to a couple a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just coming on the end of the quarter. And it's like, I haven't closed one yet. And it's just like, I really got this itch.
I feel that those gaps without closing a big deal are rough.
Yeah, we've had some small stuff come in, but nothing that's like what we want to see as a team. So it's like, I feel like I'm letting the team down a little bit by not getting one in either. So I got to keep at it.
Yep, keep pounding on it.
Yep. But yeah, what about yourself? How are you feeling?
Oh, well, these last couple of weeks have been weird. So a couple things happened. I fired our sales guy basically on the spot when I found him out. I'll talk more about that in the next section.
Okay.
And I've kind of been stepping more into, I think, the role that you have and develop, at least for the short term, of I've been laser focused on sales, sales and marketing. I've been focused on like really looking at the customer funnel and the customer experience.
Mm-hmm.
I uncovered some things that I wasn't responsible for setting up that I just thought were way below the standard. And we also totally tore up our entire Gantt chart system. I just decided it wasn't working well enough. And now we're doing like a sticky note board while we figure out, eventually hopefully get back to something digital. But
you did this all in the last week?
All in the last week. A lot of it has been kind of like a long time coming, I think.
Okay.
But I think the last, week and a half, I have been really serious about, kind of being a disciplined business person. When, I think the last 3 months I've been playing too much. And I've been pulling back and really trying to hit the business growth targets I want.
Yeah. No, it's part of it.
Yeah.
Well,
so
sales and marketing.
Feelings.
So
yeah.
Sales and marketing, I want to hear what happened in sales.
Okay. So our sales guy was 2 days a week in person. He was doing calls. And it's he's very likable. We were getting people through the funnel, but he was consistently missing sales quotas. I hired him, and we were at 14 people at the peak, and I hired.
What are you at now for the listeners?
5 now. Yeah.
Oh, you're at 5 now. Okay.
But our revenue per employee is very high for 5 now, whereas it was kind of on the low end for 4. So maybe we'll need to hire some people back, but The basically, this has been going on for months. His base salary was really high compared to his commission, and I had been pushing like, come on, come on, come on for a long time. And I think something like a couple weeks ago just hit me of like, I really need to be like a serious operator and dig into these things and figure out why. And if people aren't doing what they need to do, they need to, move out of the company. So, I started auditing things, and, the first thing I found out, our phone system was set up completely improperly. And
How
so,
so? I guess
well,
maybe that's a
right.
hole we don't want to go down.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. But basically, the thing that I found was, a major portion of this guy's job description was answering the phones, right? Not hard. We get maybe 10, 15 calls a day, right? Most of them are simple questions. Sometimes, there's a little bit of things and they turn into a lead. Well, the thing I found was, on top of not hitting the sales numbers, the phones looked like they were being answered because he had set up this system on his own system to automatically answer the phone that then went to voicemail like 90% of the time. So like this, so, and worse, yeah, it went to his personal voicemail, not a company voicemail. So whereas what should have happened is he failed to, if it failed to ring a couple times, it should have gone to me and then the next person and then go to the company voicemail.
Yeah.
When I found that out,
who do you use for your phone provider, just for context? Because that can help, because we went through this rabbit hole and I can chat about that too.
We use Just Call.
Just Call. Okay.
Yeah. And they're awesome. It gives a warning that the call's being recorded. AI transcribes everything. And then, we kind of put that in our CRM with the notes on the customer.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, the transcription's nice. Okay.
So,
okay, I'll let you keep going. I just wanted that tidbit.
Yeah, but highly recommend Just Call. It does round robin and call transcription and everything. But then I started to really audit, how much work has this guy been doing? And it looked like a lot on the surface, but I have realized that he was more of an account manager than a sales guy, right? That a lot of the work, was just automated follow-ups. There's a new book I'm reading that has really validated a lot of this for me. I think it's called New Sales Simplified. But basically he was kind of farming our existing clients on orders we were going to get anyways and not building out new business. So, I've been really focused on going and trying to be in that role, seeing how much time it takes.
It takes a lot of time.
It takes a lot of time. For context, I think he was probably spending 2-3 hours a day on average.
Yeah. So for context on my side there, my goal at the beginning of the year was to be spending 15 hours a week on sales minimum.
Right. So now I'm spending a lot of time selling. And I'm seeing our conversion rate go way up. The phones are actually getting answered. And I'm excited, but yeah, it's a lot of work. Eventually I need to offload it. I took your advice and I downloaded Fixer, which is awesome.
I'm averaging 4 hours a week saved.
Yeah. I mean,
for the first 2 weeks.
And for those of you that don't know, it ties into Gmail, it ties into HubSpot, and it kind of like auto populates emails the way that you would write them from your entire data set of how you write emails.
It changed. I don't know, that morning when I answered 6 emails when I went to get coffee after Milo was born, I was like, yeah, this is going to help me a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What an awesome tool. And that also kind of led me to realizing, hey, I haven't been on top of this AI wagon enough. I mean, we've used it a little bit to generate G code templates as a starting point. But the thing with Fixer and a lot of the newer tools, the implementation is like 2 minutes. Whereas I think I was used to AI a couple years ago where, building out a chat GPT persona takes tons and tons of work, but it just did it.
Yeah. Well, you just had to put your credit card information in and point it to your inbox.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the sales then. For you, you're on the phones. You're trying to average 2 to 3 hours a week or per day is your goal.
Well, that's what I think our old sales guy was realistically doing. Even though it was really supposed. I don't really care how much a sales guy works, but if you're not putting in 40 hours and you're missing your quotas, come on. So I'm probably putting in 4 hours a day right now into sales, and I don't know how sustainable that's going to be, but
it's tough.
Yeah, I've already seen just such a huge movement in the speed of our deal flow. and the close rate is so much faster. And the big thing is that I feel like I'm able to close a deal and just move on to the next one.
Perfect. Sounds like you need to focus then on the tools you're using during the sales process, like your templates and stuff like that, which has been a big focus for us at the beginning of the year here.
Yeah, I mean, you probably heard me sigh there, but yeah, building out the HubSpot automation and
I
the
came across a tool. Keep chatting. I got a
yep.
tool I got to find here that I'll share.
Yeah, like building out the HubSpot automation, the drip campaigns. I mean, Fixture's already been pretty huge, but going and really keeping track of those deals is something that I'm also a little bit worried about. Because realistically, I've determined, okay, this wasn't a sales guy, this was really an account manager, but that's kind of another element that I need to not totally take my eye off the ball. I think a lot of our customers that are like pre-existing are satisfied enough that regardless of if we are very consistently following up, they're still going to buy stuff because it works and it's saving them money. Um, and but that said, I don't want to put all of our focus on the kind of farming account management, but I don't want to totally drop the ball on it either.
That seems like a solid approach to it. The templating document or software that I was advertised after getting Fixer was Templify.
Mm-hmm.
It has AI into it that looks at your supposedly other proposals. I haven't looked at it because ours are so custom. It looks like
Right.
it's more for product based or more like your side of the business. Check it out. I don't know. Might be
Yeah.
worth.
Yeah, and what I'm dreaming of, and I don't know if this is real. Like HubSpot has like all these to-do workflows and every CRM does. Kind of the dream for me would be that the to-dos are kind of generated. Looks for things like, oh, can we get a quote, or just automatically follows up with what may have been a dead lead.
You can do. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've built that stuff out.
Yeah.
So I can just talk through my workflow, I guess, of how I've done that. So there's sequences are one. I don't know if
Right.
you're familiar with how sequences work.
A
So
little.
So sequences will be what I do, what I've built out for like trade show follow up or somebody that's gone cold on me. So like say I had an initial interaction with them and they've dropped off. That means I'm going to start putting less energy into trying to get them back on the phone because they just haven't responded to my last couple of emails. They haven't responded to my phone calls, but they had an active project. They checked some of what's called the BANT sales pipeline or the BANTs. I forget what they
Mhm.
are, but it's like buyer authority. They actually have buying power. They have an active project. You get like a 5-star rating there. So we rate them based on that. 5 stars.
Right.
They have all boxes checked. But as they fall down that and they kind of drip off, I put them into a sequence. So I'll phone them. I'll wait till I get a voicemail put onto their inbox. And then I'll say, I'm sending an email as well so we can have a virtual meeting, or you can send details about it. And at the bottom, there's an unsubscribe too. So if they just don't want to hear from me again, that's actually great too,
Right.
because then I'm not spending more time trying to get a hold of them versus somebody else. And that sequence, then I have that first email that's personalized, and then I put all the information into that sequence based on their profile, their project, and then it'll automate a series of other emails that are going to follow up over the next couple of weeks that are semi-custom.
Right.
Really trying to get another call or a meeting with them or more details from them. And then at the end of it, I'll have another call. If I can't get a hold of them at that, they just go down in a star rating and they go into our drip campaign.
Yeah. Are you guys on Gmail or Microsoft? Microsoft, right?
Microsoft Outlook. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's a whole, integration and I was talking to one guy yesterday who told me that he basically uses Claude and feeds it a bunch of, information about a customer and then has it generate like 6 customized, like drip campaign emails that then, he manually sends in sequence. But getting that sequence down is something I gotta focus on and make that just a clean, easy process.
There's templates within, I don't know which sales platform you're within HubSpot, but there's templates that you can buy for those sequences, or not buy, but like just if you're on the platform, you just click the button and there's, all right, I'm doing a phone call follow-up, a trade show follow-up, and they're built out sequences that work for other people. That's all I use. I built it around our business then. So I'd say it's 80% off the shelf, 20% custom.
Did you figure out HubSpot yourself, or did you pay someone to help onboard and implement?
So we paid our agency to import our data.
Gotcha.
And then get a lot of that stuff just migrated in. And then they set up our marketing drip campaigns for us, just more or less a time thing. And then for the sales side, I've basically set that up and figured out it's all Googleable things. It's just you need the time.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm almost
that
wondering like it's one of those things where like I need to learn it, and I just wish like I could pay someone $100, $200 an hour for like 2 or 3 hours just to figure everything out really well. Who's done it a lot, or do you think that's just not even necessary?
I'll have a Teams call with you some
Okay.
afternoon
Okay.
if you
Yeah.
want to, and then you got to take me snowboarding sometime.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll still pay to get to the snowboarding, but you got to
Hmm.
watch me fall a bunch of
Absolutely.
times and tell me how I'm falling incorrectly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a whole can of worms, and something that I think I've avoided. And I guess another question for you is like, how much time do you spend on the phone or just calling like prospects? Do you spend any time cold calling? No, never.
I
Yeah.
don't cold call.
Yeah.
No, unless they have to be a warmed up lead that came in, like they actually engaged with something.
Yeah.
I'm not cold calling.
But is there
I've
like a sales funnel going to you beyond like customer inquiries or a trade show database? No. Yeah.
I guess we've tried like getting some of those email lists. I have no proof that any of that's working.
Right.
We just started some of that because that's what our agency was recommending. So we're running a couple hundred people as a beta test because I really don't want to ruin our domain.
Right.
So I want to see what that plays out to first. So I'm still going to say no to that one because it's such a small test group. Otherwise, everything's coming from trade shows is our number one lead gen. Number two is what used to be number one, which was my funnel. So I have a fairly large network. I spent a good amount of time in industry, got to know a lot of people. That's how I started the business. I mean, the
Yep.
first 8 years of develop, nobody knew who we were because there was no marketing. There was no sales. It was, hey, I know this guy, Matt, who did this project for us. You should have him do that project for you. And that's how
Hmm.
this business organically grew. Uh, so that network's now become not the top one.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
number three right now is our website, but that's slowly starting to trickle up.
Yeah. Oh, I guess something else I should mention is one of our customers, Matt Blackwell, from Blackwell Engineering, put out a reel, and I asked him to make it like a collaborator reel, so we were also like on it. That has like 750,000 views.
I saw you tag that.
Yeah.
Yeah, last time I saw it was
Yeah.
575, so it's gone
Yeah.
up 50% again. That's
And
great.
one thing that broke my heart is that Matt had taken our little gimbal automation nameplate off of it. So now I'm sending him the new one. And, at least we were like in the post, but I'm sending him the new version that's black anodized that has the logo everywhere. But the we've just seen like from that one reel, our traffic has skyrocketed. The amount
good.
of leads coming in have gone up considerably. Just like warm inquiries going onto the website. And man, we spent 10 grand with meta ads like per month for so long, and never once has it created the same results as one stupid viral reel. Because we've done this 4 or 5 times now.
Okay. Have you done like any influencer where like you just send your product? Because that's been something we've tossed around. Because I'm not sold on running ads on
Yeah.
social. I've been like, all right, who could we send a couple of our products to? We'll pay
Right.
for the shipping. We'll put it on your door. You can have the product. We just want to see some content put out there. Have you done that?
Yeah. The problem is really, I think, our industry. Like the first thing I'll say is I think first off the best customers just see the value in your thing and are just willing to pay for it.
Oh, for sure.
Like we've sent out free samples, especially to potential distributors that have like a return date on them, and they pre-authorize a credit card or whatever. So rarely are those the relationships that turn into something. Usually the distributor relationship that turns into something, they just order the thing on the e-commerce store, and then when they're doing volume, they come back and say, hey, this thing really works. We like it. We tested it. We bought one on our own. Let's set something up.
Okay.
And the other thing I think about our industry is that like these platforms exist, like Practical Machinist or, Titans of CNC, especially for, kind of my sub industry, and they're expensive. You can send
Yeah,
them the
we've
thing,
talked about that. Yeah.
but
No,
unless
I'm
you're
I'm
spending
saying,
them like a Heller CNC machine and you're like, you can keep it.
but like,
the
how many followers? You said it's Blackwell,
Yeah,
right?
he has fewer followers than us. He has like 3 or 4,000.
Really? Okay. And
Yeah,
he
but
got something to go that viral.
it's not
Interesting.
about follower count. It's about engagement on the post. And The thing is, like, we can throw money at Meta, but the reality that I'm starting to realize is like, dang, I should just give Matt a call, start sending him stuff, and just be like, hey, make me videos. Because that's worth so much more to us in terms of lead gen
You gonna
than
fund my marketing agency that I want to spin out?
yeah, I'm
That
just
wasn't a no.
yeah.
Oh, this sales, you're going in the lead pipeline after this call.
Yeah. Yeah, you're still back on the shiny object.
No, it's
I
never
get it.
laughed. I still
Yeah.
really, I have an odd passion for marketing and doing that stuff. But I mean, that's all I do right now is sales and marketing. It's and 80% that, and then 20%
Right.
operations and team. I see so much value in having more of a marketing team, just to your point of what you're saying there.
Yeah.
But I know a business of our size can't justify the team that we both want without either growing the original ship or starting one alongside of it.
Yeah. I think for us too, like to speak to that point, I think I was kind of letting the organization slip because there's this conversion issue, this like farming, not new prospecting issue. I was taking my eye off the ball, and too focused on some of the fun shiny objects. And literally in a month's time, I went from we're not getting enough work, and focusing on optimizing our costs, which like needs to be done, to like, oh my God, like here was the problem. We're back on a growth trajectory and like awesome.
All right. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how sales can go is, I mean, for us, if all of a sudden I close 2 deals, we got to hire because it's one more than I anticipated.
And you had mentioned to us like the lead time thing. And now we're like 16 weeks out, which is a great feeling. And our customers don't seem to care.
I think that's a perfect there is, in my opinion, a perfect number to be living at. I think you want to be somewhere between that. 16 might even be closer to the high side. You might 12 to 16, 20.
Yeah. Are you spending more time on marketing or sales?
So last year I was really focused on marketing because I had a lot of stuff I wanted to finish. My plan was to flip that script as we rolled into 25. I am now spending more time on sales.
Yeah. Because I was all in on marketing for a while, and now I'm looking at my schedule and I got these like sales calls, demo calls, and I use Calendly to manage it all. But I look at that and I'm like, where am I supposed to record like another YouTube video? Even a quick one. And that's the challenge.
Yeah, I don't know how to solve that one. I've got a really good intern here that'll just say when I got to be in front of the camera.
Yeah.
He'll find a spot on my calendar and all of a sudden it'll just pop up that there's an hour of my time that's dedicated to video and we're going to shoot something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like when you've seen kind of declining or plateauing revenue and then you fix the problem, now I got to figure out like what actually, what amount of sales can we move and then resize the business accordingly.
Yeah. And I think you're in a good spot now. You've got the longer lead time. You've cleaned out processes that needed to change. I think the hard part is to not overcorrect or overreact in this point. Now that's, something that I know I've learned the hard way is you kind of go through these flows because small businesses are volatile in the way that you feel. And like we've said on previous podcasts, you make a lot of decisions based on kind of what you feel because you don't have data.
Yeah. And I was definitely like all in on optimizing costs. And luckily I kind of slow rolled a lot of those things. But in auditing all these things, I found like, hey, we're not using our gantry mill. We have a $4,000 a month payment on it. Like, let's sell it, pay off pay the early payment penalty crap on the loan on the machine. And
it's
then
cheaper than what you're not getting.
Yeah. And then from there, we can like move the water jet into the big space and sublet out that space. And all of a sudden, you add all these things up and we can save like 30 grand a month that, essentially doesn't affect the top line at all.
Yeah. That sounds like a solid win to me.
Yeah. So like a lot of good came out of it, but in terms of that looking at shrinking. But now I also have kind of the optimism seeing that, hey, like we can close a lot of these deals and we can do it a lot faster.
All right.
Yeah.
I look forward to hearing more, see how this progresses. Hit me up if you seriously have questions about sequences and building out that automation, because that's been the last 3 months of my life is really honing in on how do I automate and do as many sales as one human as possible.
Right.
Because I've really been reluctant to hire another salesperson.
Yeah.
I think I've said that multiple times on the podcast. I don't like the structure, the comp structure that most sales is
Yeah.
built
It's
around.
brutal, especially at our size.
Yeah, it's not structured, and it's not kind of what you went through is it's not incentivized correctly. And then I always kind of get this feeling that they don't fit into the team. And I have a huge passion for keeping our team cohesive and feeling like it is a culture of one. And sales
Yeah.
tends to be that outlier sometimes. when you put that in
So
there.
let me push that book on you called New Sales Simplified, because that's one thing it talked about is like the best sales guys are not fun or nice to be around. You know, they might be jerks, they might be selfish, but they like move deals, right?
Yeah.
And I agree with that. That we might not, like them, and they might not mesh with the team, but also at the same time, like I think you want to be a sales driven organization, and you are going to cap out.
Yeah, and I think there's times for that too. I
Yeah.
understand that the aggressive salesperson definitely has its place, but as long as I can continue to maintain it,
Mhm.
I'd rather and then build out those SOPs. So once we have an aggressive person like that,
Right.
they're a closer.
Yeah.
That's
I
the
guess
expectation.
I guess what I mean is like I think the rock star sales guys, and this is me just parroting that book, so take it with a grain of salt. But
Yeah.
I think the idea is that like they're not going to want to help service your customers. They're all of their thinking is how do I get the next lead? How do I close them? And they're not thinking about what you need the rest of your staff to be thinking about, which is being part of a cohesive whole.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're very money driven, and that's okay, and I think that's what you want.
Yeah, understood that's the typical sales structure there.
Yeah. But
Um,
all that said, I've gone in the reverse direction of having a sales guy to doing what you're doing, and I want to see what happens, and then from there, kind of reevaluate.
Something that I really like out of it too, Michael, that I think you're going to see is you start hearing what the customers are
Yeah.
actually asking for, and you start seeing connections. Like,
Mhm.
all right, I see that these group of people are looking for a very similar machine while they're all in different industries. I actually put them kind of into one bucket,
Mhm.
and I put like if I see clusters like that, I will hyper focus on trying to get more than one of those deals because while I'm building a packaging machine for this style of company, their product's almost the same. So I'm
Mhm.
building basically the exact same machine for somebody else if I
Yeah.
can close a couple of these.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I mean, within a few days, I feel so in tune with the company. The picking up the phones and hearing the questions, or even just looking at the voicemail transcripts. It's a very different feeling than having a sales guy handle it, and kind of having only things escalated to you when there's a real reason.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to think of anything else from marketing to update. I had a couple notes here. One of our competitors locally closed. So that's,
Oh.
like I said, some of those top leads that are coming in. I
Right.
had a really good one come in on Friday last week that was completely out of left field.
Just close, no, not like a try to fire sale acquisition, just shut down.
just shut down. So
Yeah.
they had done some layoffs they went from
Right.
100 people to like
Wow.
25, 30 people in the last 4 years. And
That's-
it
yeah.
seemed like they had just lost some major clients. They were sizing to be a smaller firm at that point. I'm not sure. All of a sudden, beginning of the month, they were just done. Everything's done. They didn't notify any of their customers that this was
Wow.
happening abruptly. They got an email, and a lot of them apparently were just caught off guard. And that's what the one called me. He's like, "Yeah, we were supposed to be going to market here soon."
Jeez, that sounds
Um,
like just straight insolvency upside down on debt.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. They were bought by another company,
Right.
so I don't know exactly what happened. But yeah, they're no more. And so we had one come in that way. And I was trying to figure out ways to get in front of more of these people
Yeah.
because if that one happened without me putting any energy, all he did was Google basically the services that we offer, it was more on the product development side. And all he did was Google in the Madison area, apparently, and we popped up.
I have an idea. When someone goes bankrupt, people are Googling them, right? Can you just put your brand campaign with their name as a keyword?
We could.
Yeah.
That actually might make a good plan for that. I'll drop that up to the agency.
Like normally I don't like that, and it feels cutthroat, especially if it's like another SMB. But hey, they're out of business, right? So you're not hurting
Yeah, I
anybody.
don't. Yeah, I agree with you. I hate seeming cold, but our competitors are going to go get the work otherwise.
Yeah.
And I'd like to service those customers because I think that we could do it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
How do we get them?
Hopefully those customers got their money back. That's the yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
I
Yeah.
had an interesting call. That's probably all I should say on a
Okay.
podcast. But yeah, I had an interesting call where like the guy was just and it's a bigger company,
hmm
and he was just frustrated. Like, hey, I was supposed to be at XYZ and now I've got to solve this to meet my deadlines.
Yeah.
What can you do? So
Yeah.
I mean, I talked, he's called me on Friday. I tried getting a hold of him, didn't get a hold of him until Monday. Already have NDA in place, contracts in review with his legal team. I mean, that'd be the fastest close of a product development project of that magnitude I've ever seen if that goes through.
Right. Yeah. That's
So
and those bigger customers too. In my experience, like in that corporate environment, like to even a $20,000 project, especially a $2 million project or something, like they're sticking their neck out,
oh
and
yeah.
like every big decision they make like that is like tied to their career and their position in the corporate ladder.
Yeah. That's very, very much the case. I could feel the person's pain, and it was like, all right, let's figure out how to get this
Yeah.
corrected. Thankfully, we have some engineering. I think I'm going to be able to solve his problems, which would be just awesome in the short term, and then long term, I think they'd be a great client.
Yeah, for sure.
So, moving on, engineering and R&D. You've been on sales, so I'm assuming there's not much to talk about here.
There is not for once. The air vice we've kind of put on pause. The extra load was kind of that accelerated project was really tied to one lead who has since gone cold. So I'm still keeping it going through the R&D process, but at a more tame pace. Originally we were aiming to do it Q3, have it done by the end of Q3, and I think now it's just end of Q1. I think I want to have it finished, and honestly, I'm so confident in the product that even if we don't sell it, it might end up like the very first intro load we built, where it's like we'll just run our production on it, and awesome, right?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Like we have the line load project or product, which has been through 4 revs. We put so much money into designing the thing, and we just can't move them. We just don't move enough to justify it as a product. And I think the extra load will be a much better replacement. I think the line load is just too new of a concept. Putting a conveyor in with a tray of parts. And
I don't think that I've seen several of those. I don't think that's crazy.
well, I guess the problem has been that the customers that we could sell it to are really willing to throw money at the problem. So trying to compete on a solution that's kind of price oriented has been kind of a fool's errand. Like that's my theory.
That's really interesting. Yeah, because most the conveyor feeding systems that I see have a robot hanging upside down on them, meaning they're expensive, meaning that the people are not afraid to throw money at them. Okay, that all tracks.
Yeah, it's all serial production in factories, and obviously, like we do so many of these 2-op automation pallets where for 25 grand with a turnkey, we're getting so much better value than putting a $200,000 automation thing in. And a lot of those customers will just copy paste, maybe 13, 14 grand for just the hardware. And that's a slam dunk. But when the customers are already going to buy a conveyor, we've had trouble selling into that market.
Interesting. Does that mean you need to come up with a more expensive solution?
Well, so kind of what we're planning to do right now is actually raise the price, because the incentive there is less for us because we're not moving enough volume of it. Keep it there because we've run through 4 revs of it and it's good as something we can build as a one-off, increase the lead time, and then we're for the extra load, which is that kind of a RZ Theta style robotic loader with a pallet changer. We've figured out our pricing. It's going to be at least intro pricing of 70 grand for the whole unit with 1 row of pallets, or 80 for the full set of 24. And it's expandable, I think, to 72 pallets.
A lot of pallets.
Yeah, it's a lot of pallets. and the idea is for significantly less than a robot or cobot integration, you're getting something that can move around a 100-pound pallet and is just incredibly flexible.
I didn't realize your payload was that high.
Yeah, and we can do essentially any size of pallet. There's a provision that's not in the base model, but It's kind of commercially available parts for actually exchanging the gripper, so we can move around a huge pallet.
How big?
Um, the so the machine itself is like 40 by 60, and the biggest part that we can move, I believe, is like an 18-inch cylinder, like 20 inches high. But you're gonna lose lots of rows by doing pallets that big.
I was just curious what the biggest one I could do is.
Yeah. And it's still going together. We'll see we have to experimentally test and put a safety margin on, what the amount of load it can take is. But like, man, the column and everything is it's pretty big.
I was watching some of the assembly on your stories.
Yeah, like it's as tall as like a UMC, or like when a normal vertical mill, it has like the spindle head up, like the top of that sheet metal. Like, this is the height of the thing, and we get a lot of pallets that way. But this isn't going into like a garage shop or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if somebody's needing that in a garage shop, I'm pretty sure their neighbors are going to hate them for the dumpsters outside.
I've seen some crazy, there's some crazy job shops actually, that are nestled in a garage, automation focused. One guy with 4 machines. They're out there.
Yeah, I mean, David on our team, we were just talking about how the Datron used to be in my basement, and we were talking about like chip management here and how it's gone up and what we're going through. I'm like, could you imagine hauling? We used to haul garbage bags up the basement stairs full of aluminum chips, like those giant industrial leaf bags.
Right. Yeah, I did that as a teenager because I built a CNC machine in my basement. I built like 5 over the years.
Yeah.
And that was hauling out aluminum chips and like scraping them off the drywall, much to my parents' dismay.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well,
what about you for R&D?
Ours is pretty lean. We're getting ready for ProMat next week. So we're going to be down in Chicago for that trade show. What we've done is we've revised the modular robot system that everybody's kind of come to know as the MRS for our robotic cart for packaging and palletizing. What we did is we made it 6 inches shorter. We were higher than we wanted to be. We also then upgraded to a FANUC CRX 25 so we could still maintain pallet height at a higher box capacity.
Mm-hmm.
We've got our new rev of HMI on there with all the software that's drag and drop so people can configure inline conveyors, what their pallet configurations look like. And they just got to teach a couple points in their palletizing boxes, after rolling it off a pallet. So that's pretty sweet that's come together that way. And then we've got a series of other accessories that are to come. Mm-hmm. Kind of teaser is case erection and box labeling with the same robot. I think I've said that probably in the past, but those are currently prototyped and hoping to launch those Q4, Q1.
That's exciting. Yeah, I'm really excited to see the whole ecosystem that comes about from the MRS.
Yeah, I'm hoping it turns into something. I know a lot of other people are chasing it, so we shall see. That's the reason it's not being a huge focus like, Gimbal does with products. It's more or less one of those we're leveraging stuff that we've had to create and test on other machines that we've put in other facilities. So it's not like it's just an R&D initiative. We literally just plug and play stuff that works.
Yeah.
Just make it look sexier.
Yeah. I actually lied. There is one R&D development that we did push. So we have this huge turnkey, and obviously I can't get into the details, but we're doing pallet loading inside of a 3-axis machine. So we have this. Have I talked about the intra-grip before? Not the intra-load, but the intra-grip.
Maybe, but I might be mixing all the intras.
The intras, our naming scheme is something. But the intra-grip is basically a high-force spindle gripper that has like the dovetail cleat pattern of like those little 5th-axis pallet moving cleats on the side.
Familiar with them.
So it's a spindle gripper that lets you move pallets around in a 3-axis CNC mill. And the idea is like if you have like a TRT, like a trunnion unit, you pick up a pallet off the table and you put it onto the auto chuck on the unit, and then you have essentially like a pallet loaded 3+2 machine.
That's fun.
Yeah. Yep. And it's something that we built a long time ago. We like tested it, got it working, and we were just kind of waiting to really flesh everything out, build the macro templates until we did a couple turnkeys with it. We did one that was like hand coded, but now we're building the templates out. We just sold one little package to one customer is going to DIY it. So we're
Hmm.
finalizing a lot of the stuff on the Intragrip and prepping to add it to the website and add some content about it.
That'll be fun. I look
Yeah.
forward to seeing that. So what do you do with like all these initial one-off units out in the field? How do you maintain them? How do you charge these customers for all the
Yeah.
questions that come in? Because that's what that can just eat you alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's probably more important for us because I would say a lot the larger deals we do are like 60 grand. So the first thing is we have to move a lot higher volume than you guys. It's harder to predict cash flow. I think we kind of always have to be focused on selling, which is the thing I've been talking about. So with the big thing that we start with is that we have our full turnkeys, but then we have our semi turnkeys, and a semi turnkey, both of those processes we're going to take all the hardware, cut the soft jaws, design all the code, and we're going to test it on one of our 3 implementation machines. And the big difference between a semi turnkey and a full turnkey, a semi turnkey, we create this very detailed document package. We have a system of 3 45-minute meetings, usually spaced a week apart, that are like full on training sessions. And then a full turnkey, we physically show up. We fly, we charge like $4 grand and then charge at cost for travel. But whenever I can, I push customers to do a semi turnkey, especially the smaller ones, because that training, it's built into the cost. It lets us not have to leave our facility or send somebody out. And the big thing is, at the end of the day, people have to dial in a vice and upload code no matter what. If they can't do that, they're going to have probably trouble in the long run automating anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that we do it, it depends on cost, but we prioritize number one that the customer succeeds, and realistically we'll put 4 to 6 hours in of additional engineering time before we start charging, and
Okay.
that's only the case when if there's ever an issue that we've created or something was an oversight, obviously we'll fix it, but generally speaking, that's kind of the line.
Okay. Got it. I'm just curious because it's always for us, we have baked in of X milestone done, or even that milestone's done. And as we get further into the project, it's X hours can be utilized for these. And if it goes over because we've done it enough, we know how much it should take if it's the project's tracking the way it should, and things aren't changing.
Right.
So that's the way we've gone about it. But I was just curious because you're more product based, but there's that little bit of custom that could really bite you.
Yeah, I think the good news for us is that because it's a smaller transaction, the expectations are much lower. Our bread and butter is the 2-op automation palette as a turnkey, which is like a $20,000 to $25,000 thing. And we just become a lot more selective with who our customers are. If the customer doesn't seem like they understand work offsets or macros or some of this really the basics of what I would call advanced CNC machining, now we have enough stuff in the pipeline that we just don't sell to that customer, and that's made a huge difference.
Yeah, that's huge. Okay.
But so you're just handling it by basically saying, okay, there's X hours of support baked in. Does it usually go over? Do you find yourself in a situation where this is a pain point?
It always goes over.
Okay. Yeah.
If you don't so it's the way we've gone about it is depending upon how close to the end of the project you're going, we have X% can get utilized in that gate. Like the first design, building, all that, we need to put that into our quote. We shouldn't be charging more if stuff's changing there. But there's always these little details like I want this lighting in the machine, which we never scoped special lighting in the fixturing in this because nobody thought that. But it is a cost. I'm just using an example. Or we wanted the buttons in this position and them to do these features. It's like there's a lot of assumptions that get made while we're building. A lot of questions get asked early on. And it's like now changing those button locations or the way they operate. Or I can use an example where we had built a button that was based on needs that I've seen on machines. Customer comes in for the factory acceptance, didn't want the button.
Okay.
It's like, okay, we can remove that. You have on that machine they had, I forget the exact number of hours. We'll put that in the hours. We can remove that. That's not a problem. You have the budget to do that. We can change it. We then integrated at their facility 2 weeks later.
And they want the button.
They want the button back. The issue is we've now changed so much code to retest that button isn't simply 5 minutes of re-enabling that code. And so now it's this like, why does putting this button back in cost me over $1,000? Like,
Yeah.
those are the fun conversations.
That's not even that bad. I mean,
no, but it's
Right.
usually a bunch of those little things is what I was trying to say. It's
Yeah.
usually not one major thing. It's all these little details of that that's just a prime example of it.
Yeah, I think it's not as much of an issue for us because we're like 50% product, and like, and you know, we're still doing or you know, putting an occasional proposal out on a weird turnkey, you know, similar like a mini version of what Develop does, but we're really turning that knob down and really turning those prices up, so we're winning less of those deals, which means that, and those are the ones, you know, where it's something totally custom for some specific application, that those are the deals that can have those things go wrong in my experience.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been the structuring of it and creating customer expectations, but Develop's also been growing. So we didn't have the confidence to push and say, no, this is the way it needs to be done. So you get a machine in a timely fashion and Develop doesn't lose money. Now we've done enough of them that we can say this is our SOP. So we can hit your timelines and give you a quality machine.
Yeah. The good news is it gets easier over time, but it's always still hard.
Exactly. Yep.
Yep.
Well, speaking of getting easier, we're going to roll into company-wide updates and improvements. You have anything?
I already talked about mine a little bit. Talk about yours.
Okay. Mine's been a lot of sales, like I said, over the last week here. Really, we're not doing anything crazy. We have the BVM coming in 2 weeks. We finally got a land date for that. Okay. So the new CNC machine is set to arrive on the 26th now. Allegedly, it's in the States. It's supposed to be arriving at our reseller, I believe, this week. Not positive on that, actually. I should know that, but I don't. And so the 26th, it's set to come in. Most of the tooling's here. We're getting ready to deploy that. And then the other thing is now that we have so many machines going in parallel, we have customer products everywhere, like pallets and pallets of stuff. And so we're putting in racking just to store customer products that's in WIP.
Yeah, that's good. I'm surprised you guys don't have racking already with all the stuff going on.
We had so much floor space, so we just let it keep going, and then now its timing's perfect. My father-in-law has a business, and I asked him the other night when we were walking dogs together. I'm like, "Hey, where do you get all your racking from?" And he's like, "Oh, funny thing, we just tore down thousands of square feet.
Yeah,
you can just go take some out of the lot." So I was like, "Perfect, I can save a few bucks there."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a good problem to have for sure, and definitely going vertical. Like, you know, we have too much floor space too, and the, you know, especially now that we're gonna, if anyone needs a GR510, by the way, reach out to me. You know, a Haas gantry mill, but you know, especially now that the plan is for that machine to go to bring the water jet in and consolidate, and hopefully sublet out the other space. You know, we have to plan a lot more, but you know, also, you know, space is expensive, and there's a real cost to going and having just to walk too far as opposed to going vertical.
Exactly. So those are our simple little updates and improvements.
You excited about the new machine?
I have this like I'm excited, but at the same point, I'm so detached now from the machining side of the business. It was something that I started. It's a big passion of mine still, but it's like I get to watch from the sidelines. So it's a different level of excitement because I see how excited the team is about it. And that's what I think I'm more excited about, is seeing, hey, we're going to be able to do X, Y, Z. We're going to be able to increase the amount of parts we can do. We can now offer X. You know, it's like, that's what I'm really excited about now.
Do you have Through Air on the machine? Do you know the spec sheet?
Do I have what on it?
Through Air.
Through Air?
Yeah.
I believe there's Through Air. I know we have through spindle coolant. We went with the high RPM spindle.
Yeah. Send me the spec sheet. I wanted to send you a Weissner gripper, and I want you to just, you know, throw somebody at it and see if it makes sense, and you know, if not, whatever.
Yeah, I'll send you the spec sheet after. I'll put a note in here.
Yeah. You know, it might not make sense for your parts, but I'm just curious, and you know, more feedback's always good. And
complete transparency, I can almost guarantee it won't work for parts because we never run really, I shouldn't say never,
hmm
we rarely run more than like 2 of a part.
Really?
And usually
Yeah.
the second
That's
one is
super
a
lean.
mirror.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we hardly have any extra plate on the floor. It's
What's your machine utilization? Do you know? Like, are the machines running half the time?
Over the last year, it's gone up a lot.
Yeah.
It used to be so our machinist, David, he would float between mechanical design, had some really good conversations where actually he's going to be really focusing on just machining. And so
Right.
the goal is to have, that's all he's going to be driving towards, is keeping the spindles up. But back to your question, we're still under 50%. I
Yeah.
could guarantee that on a single shift. So that's just
Right.
your standard 8-hour. But
do you think it's
what's in-
25? Do you think it's 10?
oh, it's way past 10.
Okay.
I'd bet it's past 25%. It's probably somewhere around 25 to 40%.
Right.
There are weeks where it is 100%.
Yeah.
And then there are weeks that it is 5%.
Right. And there's the Datron and then the new machine coming. What else is on your floor?
That's it for CNC.
Okay. Yeah.
So the Datron, I mean, that's part of the reason
Yeah.
we want another spindle too.
Right.
Is we make thousands of custom parts for our machines a year.
And Matt, it doesn't have to be aluminum anymore.
And it doesn't have to be aluminum anymore.
Yeah.
Yep. That is exactly one of the other things.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, well, Datrons actually cut steel. I will say that.
I'm sure they do, but
just not fast.
yeah. For us, I've really been kind of focused on being a good business person, and we've had this historical issue of a couple of staff members consistently coming late and it creating issues, right? And I think I tolerated it too long, and I finally just I wouldn't say snapped, but I just said, if you guys are late 3 times the next quarter, I'm firing you. And suddenly everybody's on time. So that was a good feeling. It not one of those things that felt good to do, but at the same time it was necessary, and it's better than just trying to do the same thing over and over and not seeing it turn around. So there was that. Like I mentioned, we just totally threw out the Gantt chart system. We have this super complicated system that it just needs to be simplified. And like we're at 5 people right now, kind of 5.5, because Priscilla does the podcast editing and some marketing stuff.
You can run off a whiteboard at 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still think the whiteboard is the most efficient way to do team management at 5. I agree with you.
Yeah. And the thing is, I'm trying to figure out, first off, how much can we really sell if the sales cycle is dialed? And I think that's considerably higher than where we've been the last couple of months. And I've been focused on like right sizing the business. 5 is going to be too few. It's probably like around 8, right? And where I think we can still run with a whiteboard and be okay at 8. And
it starts breaking.
Right?
From my experience, you have your Scrum board. I guess depends how big your whiteboard is in your meeting. But I found that like time of meeting really breaks down once you get into that 7-8 people, and then space for stickies runs out. Like you start running onto the back, and then it's just a pain. Because we had one of those like large whiteboards on casters, like the biggest one you can get there, and then we taped a line and we did swim lanes. I'm assuming that's what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, we're doing like sticky notes with due dates and kind of letting people run through their process, and then if stuff's not finished when it's due, it's like, okay, why is that the case?
So similar thing, and then you put them right in order priority. Yep.
Yeah, and that was supposed to happen with a Gantt chart, but it just got so complicated, and there were so many things that we didn't use that it's nice to have a reset.
You might want to just look at Microsoft Planner.
Yeah.
That's the way we once we got off a whiteboard, we went to Planner. That worked pretty good until we got to that 10 team member mark, and then that starts breaking down because you have so many projects running in parallel. And then that's where we had to do Gants and have resource meetings.
Yeah. I think too, the good news is like, even if we're doing more, revenue than we can realistically support, we have a really good network of contractors. And at least my short-term this quarter plan is to lean on them to churn out.
I just thought of something there. If you want us to utilize your gimbal gripper and you want video, and I'm going to have a bunch of idle spindle time.
Yeah.
I'll let you connect those dots.
Yeah. I'll send you a gripper in a heartbeat. But God, what was I saying?
Leveraging contract manufacturing, and that's why I had that random
not
thought.
contract manufacturing, contractors.
Oh,
So there is, contract manufacturers, kind of, local, we have a few abroad as well, manufacturers that are making parts for us. I don't really call it contract manufacturing because we're making runs of like 20 parts because, we have like 200 SKUs. So it doesn't make sense to make 200 of a part to where I'd call it contract manufacturing. But we have contractors who, do the actual turnkeys with us, and help move things along. And like this time around, as we grow, I want to take it a lot slower. I want to make sure I'm 100% certain that I hire the right people and, kind of make sure that I have the time to put the standards and processes in place to make sure I don't, overgrow myself again.
Yeah. Well, that's a tough one because when growth, it's
it's an addicting drug.
It's a drug. Yeah, I was trying to come up with a better way to put it, but yeah, once the growth starts happening, you don't want to. You just want to keep putting the kerosene on the fire.
Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to say, like there's a couple shops that we used to use who have chosen to grow slowly, and they've kept raising their prices until we've been priced out of using them because we need to make money on our products. And to an extent, that's a way to slow growth into a level of sanity and still make more money. So if we keep getting busier and busier, I probably don't want us to be 2 years out. I'll just raise our prices to keep us at a maximum of 16, 20 weeks out.
Yeah, I think that's a solid strategy. Keep trending on that, and we'll.
But I say all that, and then earlier today to close a sale, I'm like, yeah, we can do it in 6 weeks. I'll put you ahead of the queue. So
but you charge a premium for that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, I would say I love using my taxidermist friend that like everybody wants their head mount 2 weeks after deer season.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah, I've got X number of slots if you want your head mount, and it's this much every year.
Mm-hmm.
And he only does a few select of them, but some people pay twice as much just to get it in that first month.
So. It's a very Midwestern example, man.
I know, but he's a one-man shop. The guy's a working fool. Yep. And I love some of his just like simple business math he does. Yep. It's really cool.
Yep. Do you want to move the next section?
Yeah, it's what did you Google? I will hit that one quick because we already covered it. It's been sequences and automations. I've been really going further into that. I said I'd teach you how to do it. I figured most of it out, earlier on this year, but I was honing it further. You could figure it out on a one day personally, but that I was digging into how can I make it even better than what I've been seeing.
Random question. So are you, so obviously HubSpot integrates with Outlook and Gmail.
Yes.
When are you like sending information to customers like emails or whatever through HubSpot, or are you doing it through Outlook? Always
Both.
HubSpot. Okay.
Both. My initial follow-up and main engagement with leads is on HubSpot. Cold calls, or not cold calls, but calls to them are on HubSpot so I can record them. Now, once somebody comes into the pipeline, it gets a little squishy.
Yeah.
If I start talking to them and I'm just in Outlook, because now I have Fixer that's automating some of that stuff for me. But you can still have HubSpot and Outlook engaging so you can make sure that you're seeing that your tasks are completed.
If you send an email through HubSpot, does Fixer see it or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So the way that it sees it is HubSpot's, it actually goes into my sent box in Outlook. So HubSpot's linked, I'm sure that's some API there that HubSpot actually sends it to Outlook, and then Outlook actually sends the email. It's the same way that I'm assuming my phone on there works.
Right. That's neat.
So
okay, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's great. I mean, that's exactly what I've been dealing with is how do I automate that? Because I mean, in all reality, we were running Nimble a year ago, pretty much in 2 months. It'll be a year. And then in the last month added Fixer. So between those two, I am easily operating at a capacity that is more than double what I was a year ago.
Yeah.
In just sales. And that's just with those two tools.
Yep.
Then we put the templates that our team has created for doing our sales proposals and automating more of that, and then narrowing down on not doing as custom stuff. and it's getting even more efficient. And so that's where I'm like, how far can we go without having to get a dedicated salesperson here?
Right.
Maybe it's just a top of funnel where they're taking inbound calls, they're putting people into the pipeline and putting them on my calendar. And
Yeah.
that's, I don't know.
Do you have like a slide deck that you go and do sales presentations with, like a just a default no?
No, it's, I
Yeah.
still do more personalized just conversations. I don't like being talked to when somebody's trying to sell me
Right.
something. So if somebody brings this, I tune them out right away. I
Yeah.
blank face on a
The
sales
the
pitch
reason
like
I
that.
ask is I would like, if you have a customer who's not in it under NDA or who doesn't care, yeah, I would just like to see like what your first sales call looks like, and just whether it's recording or it could be a fly on the wall or whatever.
Oh
And
man,
the yeah,
it's ad hoc.
yeah, okay,
I very much, I know our services, I know what
yeah,
we can do, and I'm more or less asking what they need. So
yeah,
my sales call is less about develop. I
yeah,
view
yeah,
an initial sales call should be 80% customer.
right,
Who
of
are,
course,
because at the end of the day, I met them at a trade show. They sent me one email form on our website based on, we want
hmm,
a packaging line. I don't know anything about
yeah,
what they really want. I'm just trying to understand exactly what they want to build. And then from there, I'm going to be able to say, all right, we can or cannot do this. And if we can, then we really get into kind of the sales process, getting
right,
them a proposal, formalizing. And if we can't, I'll point them in a couple directions.
yeah. I'm gonna send you on our sales deck,
Okay.
because we like it's very customer centric too. But I always try to start out. There's this framework called SCR, situation conflict resolution, and the idea is you frame the situation the customer's in, and then the conflict of why this thing is bad. Really trying to make the customer see the pain of like, what if they do nothing? What if they don't build this machine, or what if they don't buy this automation turnkey?
Yeah.
And then after that, oh, conveniently, here's the resolution, which is us. Um,
It sounds very similar to what
yeah,
I do, just no formal training on sales.
yeah. But I would push you to SOPify it, and to put a framework around it. Even if it's just a bunch of bullet points that you go through, because like that slide deck has really helped me, and I think us as an organization, even in spite of what might not have been the most prep sales calls ever, to still close those customers.
Yeah, I mean, there's still standard questions that we have on there. The same thing we use at a trade show. So like trying to vet how many parts is a customer making? What's the rate of their line? How many people are currently doing it to kind of understand their budget? There are some standard questions that I ask as I work through their project, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
of course.
But
Yeah,
that's not completely formalized.
but yeah, it's gonna. You guys have a part-time sales guy, right?
We do not. Well, we had Chris in
Yeah,
California
yeah.
is a temp agency.
Okay.
I mean, he's temp. He hasn't sent us a lead, and he actually told us to stop paying his retainer fee. So I'm
Okay. Yeah,
assuming
that
he's not.
that answers that
He,
question.
yeah. So I think it's done.
Yeah, man. Outside is like we went down that route too. Like outside sales rep at our size with a highly technical product. Yeah, get out of here until you got an inside rep who can really close deals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What it worked well with is, so I knew the guy. Life science is what he was in. He was from Madison area. That was when we were putting like our life science content on our website. So part of the sales agreement we had with him is he reviewed all our copy
Mm,
and then deployed all our sales literature for life sciences. So
gotcha.
now we actually have SOPs for life sciences, which is oddly enough.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. So we
Okay.
got all that in place as part of that. And then he sent us up a couple leads, but nothing really panned out. And I think he was like, man, your sales cycle's much more painful than selling medication.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Man, I really derailed the what are you googling section.
No, you're fine. Uh, did we get through your Googling?
No. I just
All
derailed
right.
yours.
Okay. You're up
Um,
then.
it's been mostly AI tools. I've been googling a lot. I mentioned our just call phone system was set up improperly. A little bit of googling there. Really cleaning that up, making sure we have business hours set, that we have a proper rotation, like through the staff. The figuring out what tools we can use. Looked at Fixer, added Fixer in just on your recommendation. Didn't even research a lot of the others. And I still think there's some. I've been hearing a lot that Claude is a lot better at writing, but haven't really tested or validated that, and that's kind of something I want to look into too.
I'll be curious to hear about that because my review of it was that it wasn't as good at inbox management. And what I was really
Well, I'm not
looking
talking for inbox management. I'm talking for like blog content creation. Especially kind of semi-technical writing.
Got it. Yeah, that was because I think Claude does some like Outlook management. I was looking for more of that executive assistant side.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be curious to see what you get with Claude then for that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Fixer takes, as someone who's had 6 different EAs, and hopefully that's, they've all been virtual low cost EAs, so I hope that's not a reflection on me. But the AI tool is 75% of the way there. Which, yeah.
I think we talked about that. I was looking at hiring an executive assistant, and 40% of that role was what Fixer is doing for $50 a month.
Incredible. Absolutely great.
Yeah.
Yeah. My concern is that they're going to crank it up and it's going to be $1,000 a month, and then we're going to be like, oh.
Yeah, I don't want to say how much I would pay for it. I wouldn't pay $1,000 a month.
I'm with you there.
I would pay more than $50.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So, for number 6, something personal then.
Something personal. I've been putting it off, but we're supposed to go suit shopping today for my wedding coming up.
I forgot that. Yeah, It was Hawaii. So
yep.
I'm excited to learn more about that. That and the honeymoon sound incredible.
Yep. Yeah, destination wedding, and then honeymoon a month later because I can't take too much time off.
Yeah, you'll enjoy that for sure. For me this morning, I never thought I would have to cut clothes off a baby.
Cut them off.
Okay. So thankfully they were like one of the small ones, but like Milo just destroyed a diaper. There was crap all the way up his back. And I'm like, it's this onesie that has to go over the head.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, the only way to not cover your entire body in crap this morning is to cut your clothes.
Wow.
Yeah, Amanda's like, what are we going to do? And I just ran and got the scissors.
Yep.
So there's my something personal for the day.
Yeah, your bags under your eyes aren't quite as bad. How are you doing sleep-wise?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah. So the first week, like I said, it was Amanda and I. She had just had her C-section, so I was taking care of like as much of the getting up as I could so she could rest. And then now she's probably taking more than she should at this point. She's like, but you've got to go to work and perform. So she's the most understanding spouse ever.
That's awesome. Is Amanda doing okay after everything?
I am amazed. Yeah. I mean, she rebounded so fast, and then like, I think it's positive attitude. Like I was telling somebody else, and they're like, she just always has the positive attitude. So it's like, that just pushed her right through, which was good.
She's one of those people that like, no matter what happens, she's just always happy.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah.
She rarely gets too angry. Awesome. She understands it. It's just time. We'll work through it.
Cool. Thank you so much for listening to Matt and I's conversation this week on the Manufacturing Automation Podcast. If you like the podcast, please share it with a friend or give us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We'll be back next week to continue sharing our respective journeys in life, business, and industrial automation. Thanks so much.